Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. Rapidly moving developments in Bangladesh. Sheikh Hasina is bound for London. Evidently, she's now in New Delhi. She has quit and the army has taken over. It looks like the army has formed a government. But how did events move so quickly? What really happened? To know all this and more, we have Savio Rodrigues. Savio, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel. How are you?
Namaskaram, and thank you for inviting me on the 𝗣𝗑𝗏 Gurus talk show. Let me get straight to the point. It was a statement that I've been making for the last several months that the CIA has been working to a sinister plan as far as the Indian subcontinent is concerned. In fact, it was Sheikh Hasina herself who, in a meeting with her political party a couple of weeks ago, spoke about the fact that a white gentleman, referring to a CIA representative in Dhaka, very categorically told her that they would carve out a Christian nation from parts of Bangladesh, parts of Myanmar, and parts of India in the northeast. More importantly, they were very interested in having a naval base as far as Bangladesh is concerned. And however, Sheikh Hasina was not willing to allow for herself or her country to be a puppet in the hands of either China or the United States while she played both the countries. Now, what is important for us to understand is that if you look at the playbook that happened in Bangladesh, the same playbook was tried in India during the CAA protest and during the farmer protest. And they had got extreme support from the United States and media that are controlled by the CIA, which is Washington Post and New York Times. In fact, during the CAA protest, there was a large ad. Even during the farmer protest, there was an ad that came out in one of those publications, which was funded by people in the US linked to Islamic radicals and people who want to destabilize the Indian subcontinent, which the CIA is working with. Now, we need to be extremely, extremely clear. Yes, China does have its gain with what has happened in Bangladesh, but the real player in this entire episode and the coup in Bangladesh is the CIA. And I will continue to say it no matter what CIA thinks about itself, because it's India's interest which is now threatened internally and externally, because they will try and use the same playbook in India. Now that they have a considerable strength in the opposition, they think that India is currently weak, and they will try and go furthermore with protests such as what they did with the CAA and the farmers' protest.
Savio, there are two types of things that are happening right now. One is to try and destabilize India by trying to make the smaller countries around to have coups and stuff like that. And Bangladesh has had coups. It's basically acting like its other sibling, which is West Pakistan, which is now Pakistan. I mean, what you're seeing here is the same thing, and it is believed even when Sheikh Hasina was in power that even a bird couldn't flap its wings unless the army approved. So the army has a fairly big amount of grip on the affairs. However, India has been able to maintain some peace and calm. The questions that come to my mind are: there's a $30 billion export business of Bangladesh that's up in the air right now. Is this something that India might be able to kind of step in and take care of, so that the world at least doesn't see the pain and India finds a way to try and economically cripple Bangladesh at the same time to try and keep, this is an opportunity. There's nothing else I can say. I mean, people may hate me for it.
There is
That
Sri, there is
Go ahead.
absolutely no doubt. There is absolutely no doubt that India, in its efforts to maintain and strengthen its relationship with Bangladesh, will do all that it can to ensure that the people of Bangladesh are secured and the Bangladesh economy, in whatever little way we can help, will somehow stabilize. But when such a coup happens, you have to be prepared for what's going to happen across the borders, because undoubtedly, with an Islamic regime coming in place, because that's the playbook. They want an Islamic regime. You are going to have a crisis of refugees, which will be the Hindu refugees wanting to come into to India. And in the guise of the Hindu refugees, also, you would also have the probability of Muslims from Bangladesh who might not be very happy with the current situation, which will take a certain amount of time to normalize, coming to the border. And that's when you're going to have an even further crisis. You had the crisis with the Rohingyas before. You're going to have a further crisis more accentuated with what has happened in Bangladesh right now. And we have to be very, very alert, especially in the Northeast. I am saying this over and over again because I have seen at a ground level what is happening in Mizoram and Manipur. The kind of infiltration that has happened, the amount of Chin-Cookie immigrants, illegal immigrants that are there. I'm not talking about the ones that were always a part of India. I'm talking about the illegal immigrants that have come in because of the crisis in Myanmar, and because the military junta has been pushing them towards some sort of do or die situation. That is when they are moving towards India, towards Manipur, towards Mizoram. And what you saw in Manipur, I'm saying this again, while it was drugs, while it was the ethnic conflict, the larger game is to carve out a Christian nation from 𝗤𝗎𝗄𝑘𝑒 people from the Chin state of Myanmar, Manipur, Mizoram, and areas of Bangladesh, which is Chittagong in the locality around there. Now, this is something that even Sheikh Hasina herself was afraid of. But now, what they did, if you look at the comparisons, in Manipur, it was the judicial overreach that actually triggered the protest. In Bangladesh, again, it is a judicial overreach that has triggered the protest. Again, youths and young adults are being triggered using social media and using various other communication channels to trigger the protests. And in India, while in Manipur the conflict continues, you still have the potential of more conflicts happening in India because of the playbook that was used in Bangladesh. And therefore, the Indian government must not only be alert of internal threats, they must also be alert on external threats.
Let's take this thing one step forward. She goes and holds up in London. What happens next? Just another person, prime minister in exile?
Well, I personally believe that Sheikh Hasina's life is under some level of threat. Okay? Because that's what the intelligence within her country is clearly talking about to people that we are in touch with. Now, whether she is safe in India or whether she is safe in London is for her to decide based on her relationships. But what is certain is that they will try everything in their power to ensure that Sheikh Hasina does not return to Bangladesh. The military will take over right now. The opposition party which exists will probably be put into power, or it will continue being with the military for some time till normalcy returns. But Sheikh Hasina's life is in danger. Therefore, the best option to her is to stay in India. Whether she chooses London or not, that is up to her. But the point is this. The point is, look at everything that's happening in the Indian subcontinent. You had a problem in Sri Lanka. You have a problem in Myanmar. You have a problem in Pakistan. Now you have a problem in Bangladesh. You have a problem in Maldives. So regions surrounding India are having problems that are conflagrating. And most of these problems, at the root of the problem, is some form of radicalization or some sort of strength or breather that they're giving to the minority populations in those regions to get more stronger. Like in Manipur and Mizoram, the narrative is about atrocities against the Christians. In places outside of that, the narrative is atrocities against the Muslims. That is what the game plan is. The CIA wants to have between the Islamic nations and a Hindu nation, which is India, also a Christian nation, which is what they have been doing right from the time of independence. If you see the kind of influx that they have been bringing into India, especially in the Northeast, through the evangelism module, you will realize the intent of the CIA is to have a very strong anti Hindu, anti India objective as far as their plan in the Indian subcontinent is concerned. They will definitely show that they are friends with us, but they are not our friends.
Well, the other unfortunate aspect of this whole rioting has been, first it started out as student riots against reservations, and soon it turned against Hindus. Again, the Hindus are suffering at the hands of these rioters in Bangladesh. Read me this thing, Savio, whether it is United Kingdom or Bangladesh. It starts out as a riot by somebody, but soon the anger turns towards Hindus. What's going on?
Precisely what I'm saying, Sree. The whole idea, if you understand what I'm trying to get at, is that the CIA wants to break the very foundation of what Hindustan stands for, what Bharat or India stands for, which is the majority of the Hindus. So, what are you seeing in Bangladesh? The targeting, at the end of the day, Sheikh Hasina comes from the Muslim community, right? Now you have Sheikh Hasina, who's a Muslim leader who's been ousted. What have the Hindu Bangladeshis got to do, and why are they being targeted? They've been targeted primarily to send a message to India. It is the same thing that they're doing in the UK. It's the same thing they do in the US. The targeting of Hindus is driven by this fear psychosis, which is further driven by religious bigotry, which is to try and clamp down on the believers of Sanatan Dharma and Hindu, which is why they get targeted. How is it that when you have the farmer protests that happen in India, you have Muslim organizations, Sikh organizations in the US actually putting out advertisements on leading newspapers like the Washington Post and New York Times? I don't remember which one of them, but one of the two. And they have the money to put a front page ad. So they are funded very, very clandestinely by the CIA. CIA wants control in this region. It's been looking for a naval base. It is looking for an army base, which is why they will also try their tricks in Ladakh. They will try their tricks to find a way to get space even in Ladakh. They will create more animosities in the Northeast region. And that is how CIA works. So today, India is fighting multiple fronts. You're fighting the CIA, you're fighting China, you're fighting your own internal, what you would call agents of either China or the US. You are looking at a playbook, and as far as the opposition is concerned, they don't care whether it's China or the US. What they are interested is in taking Narendra Modi out. Therefore, in the next 6 months to a year, in the run up to even the state elections, you will see turmoil as far as India is concerned, because they have tasted blood before. They will try and do the same in India. Protest, young adults, youth will be the center of that focus.
Well, certainly dark clouds over democracy in Bangladesh. And, once army takes over, it takes a heck a lot of time before things can be brought back. In fact, the remnants of the previous army, I'll yield the floor to you. Remnants of the previous army is Khaleda Zia, the wife of Ziaur Rahman, a military officer who overthrew Mujibur Rahman. So I just wanted to make that limited point that this has been around for a long time. Nothing new about Bangladesh, but it is unfortunate that when they looked like they were really pulling themselves out of the woods, they've gotten back into this mess. Over to you, Savio. You wanted to make a point.
Yes, I'll give you another playbook that will happen as far as Sheikh Hasina is concerned. There will be articles that will come out now or on social media that Sheikh Hasina was a dictator. That is exactly the focus that they will take. That she was a dictator, she crumpled democracy, and because the democracy was crumpled and stamped upon, that's why there was a reaction from the youth. That's why there was a reaction from young adults that took to the streets and protested and went after. That of that's the typical narrative of the CIA playbook, and that is exactly what they're going to do.
Well, we have a few questions for you, Savio. Let's take the questions now, please. Srimad Bhikshu wants to know, why not India reject so-called democracy like China and Russia and develop economy silently like also China, having joint ventures with Russia and China?
Well, India, in its foreign policy, prefers to be equitably friendly with every country as long as the interest of India is served. And I think in the current situation, a balanced approach that India has been utilizing is the best approach forward until we have conflicting reasons not to.
Next question, please. Prabhuram Swami wants to know, can Mamata Banerjee visit Bangladesh and establish a new government? Will Bangladeshis in Bengal help her take over as PM?
I think we are going towards the daily show with Trevor Noah, but we're not yet there. So I will leave the question for a show with Trevor Noah.
Next one, please. Health Tuber wants to know, we should reconsider our relationship with USA and our Indo-Pacific policy. Excuse me.
Sorry, I lost you then.
We should reconsider our relationship with USA and our Indo-Pacific policy, is what he's suggesting. Health Tuber.
Well, I think we have to, in light of what has happened in Bangladesh, we have to reassess whatever is happening, and I think the government is doing that. I think the government has a very able team and a formidable team, and I think they're working on the foreign policy in the manner that they believe is good for India. We would only know whether it's good or not based on the results that happen in the weeks ahead. But I believe it's good.
All right. Last question now. Why should these stupid Hindus continue to live in Bangladesh when every time there is rioting, the Hindus are targeted for no reason? Well, it's not just Hindus in Bangladesh. Now it's spread across the world.
See, well, you have to accept the fact that Hindus who are from Bangladesh chose to live in Bangladesh for reasons best known to them at that point of time. Now, the CAA is the amendment that has happened for people who had come into India before December 31st, 2014, from 1947 onwards, when we had the partition, and Bangladesh was one of them. Now, we'll have to look at where and how we can accommodate the Hindus from Bangladesh, because, well, they are certainly going to get crushed as far as an Islamic nation is concerned with somebody who's not, somebody who's not secular in the definition of secular in which we see in India. You're going to have trouble. They're going to target the Hindus. They're going to be ostracized. They're going to be humiliated. They're going to be violated. There are many things going to go wrong. So I think we need to look at that holistically, as not only India but organizations like the United Nations and the Human Rights Watch, or what's going to happen to people who are not pro-Islamic or pro-radical, as what's going to happen to what Bangladesh is right now without Sheikh Hasina.
Thank you so much, Savio. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We'll have more data for you at 9 p.m. when we join with Sumit Peer, and then we'll have more details. Right now, it is still a little bit sketchy whether she's going to go to London or whether she's going to stay in India. That could be another possibility. We'll know all about that. Thank you, Savio, for a great update.
Welcome.
And we'll see you soon. Namaskar.
See you. Bye. Bye. Namaskar.